And to be honest, one of the other reasons why I kind of do this is because I kind of suck at introductions, if I'm honest with you. And I felt like all my videos and podcasts start the same way. Like, hey guys, hope you're doing well. So it's kind of fun and better just to talk about the things. So you were mentioning you had a meeting this morning and talk to us a little bit about that. So in a sense, like who you are, Jeff, who you were meeting with, and all those little things.
Okay. Well, yeah. So basically, on yesterday, I actually had a full staff coaches meeting
Hmm.
with my staff with the goalkeepers for at the Legends, the goalkeeping departments. What I then tried to do, what I thought was easier, because a lot of times, obviously, meetings you listen to it, and then certain things you forget, even if there's like an agenda. And so, what I'll do is the next day I'll go into Zoom and I'll create the meeting again by myself. And so that I'll record it and talk and share everything I need to do like I did last night. And then what's a cool little thing is it actually summarizes that whole meeting for you through their AI, I get through their
Oh, yeah.
AI platforms, whatever they have. And then I'm able to actually look at it and I could even edit that summary if I need to. Because sometimes it doesn't pick up exactly what I say or how I say it. And then,
That happens often with me.
yeah, right. So, and then I'm able to then, I'll email that out. So it's kind of a bullet point of what we talked about and not just a full hour of just me talking and going over those. And so it's cool. It's even a point where even if I go off topic and I start explaining certain things, even on the recording, it'll summarize that into its own little pocket of what I was talking about. So it's a cool little
That's really
thing. So
interesting.
and
And
it helps
honestly,
they like
yeah,
it. So the coaches like it because it almost summarizes it for them too. So,
yeah.
and me. Sometimes I'm like, "Wow, that they said that better than what I expected it to say." Like, it's a pretty cool thing. So, that's my little cheat code.
I'm glad you brought that up because you actually brought a topic that I didn't think about, and I think it will be really cool if you can talk a little bit about it on a sense of like how being a goalkeeper director and working with other goalkeeper staff, how do you manage that? But before we jump on that, just if you could give us a small description about who's Jeff. I think I will go and do it, but I'm pretty sure that Jeff knows himself way better than me and he's able to sell himself better than me. So go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, so my name is Jeff Tackett. I am in Southern California. I have my own Academy of Southern California School of Goalkeeping, which I've had for probably over 25 years. And through that, just the school is the reason why I name it school is because I feel I teach more than I just train. And so that's always been a very big part of what we do and being able to tactically do things and classroom do things and assessment of games, all that into the academy. And so when I was able to probably what was that during COVID almost I created a proposal for clubs of hey, you know, I think you guys need to do a better job with your goalkeepers or at least the coaching staff because you have such for the bigger clubs, right? They have such a big number of goalkeepers, but maybe they only have one goalkeeper coach for one for the girls or maybe one for the boys or maybe just one period. And
Mhm.
so I was finding out when I would send these goalkeepers that I felt are more advanced to these bigger clubs, they would still come back to me and want to be trained and do all the little things that we do in the academy.
Mhm.
And I thought I thought that's not worth it, right? You should be going to a big place and I should be out of a job, right? So
Yeah.
I should be sending you to where you're going to get better now at that point and I'm done with you. But it was the opposite. So that's where the proposal came from, where I wrote it out saying, these are the little things that we need as goalkeepers, not just saving a shot, but all four pillars of that soccer, right? And to do that, we need to actually have a staff of goalkeeper coaches. We need to have a director that directs it, just like you have a director of coaches for your team staff. And kind of laid it all out. And I had a few that were interested and Legends FC is where I am now. And they're much more local to me and they were all for it. And were willing to do everything that I asked for on bringing in staff. And so
Yeah.
at that point,
So right now, if I'm understanding properly, you're working with Legends, the club, right? And you still have your own academy, school, right? or did both of them get combined?
I still have them both, but it's mimics the school. My academy mimics on what we would like to accomplish for the club in general, right? From each development stage. So allowing me to have a full on staff has given me more opportunity to do what the vision of my academy into the club side.
Yeah. And how did all of this start? I mean, of course, you mentioned COVID, but what was Jeff at the beginning? Like at the beginning of like where you are a goalkeeper all this time, and then everything started transitioning, and then how did you end up on doing your own school, and how did you end up on Legends, basically, and all that?
Well, yeah, no, I obviously played all my life, and
Hmm.
at one point when I got injured, I started looking into like I love coaching. I love to do it, and I was coaching teams, and I would help the teams with just the goalkeepers, but not know much about what I'm doing. I just train the goalkeeper, right? Like most of us start, and then I think when I was probably so I got injured when I was 22. So by 23, I've had 3 surgeries. Doctor said you're pretty much done. Your shoulder's shot.
Wow.
So I had a mom come to me and say, "Hey, would you be willing to train my kid in goalkeeping?" And at that point, like that was unheard of. I'm 52, so that was we're talking like 1990, like four
Yeah.
type area, long time ago. So started doing it, and word of mouth hit, or sometimes I'd have maybe 2 or 3, and then a year down the line or so, it got a little bit bigger word of mouth, and so I thought, it'd be cool to kind of create something. I had friends that were field player coaches that had their own camps, and they had their own like kind of academy that they would call themselves for their training and their camps. And so I decided, okay, well, maybe I could do that as well and go into like a school of goalkeeping, and with that name, kind of go into the point of can I create a culture where we're teaching the kids more than just save the shot, but now I started to learn little things about how do I negate the shot and how do we teach those items and tactically, and it just morphed into then going into doing clinics and doing camps and then learning how to do classroom stuff, and it just continued to
Yeah.
morph into this huge academy where I will go everywhere and be able to have many kids that I've been blessed to be successful of sending them to as high as what they want, from college to pro to international to World Cup, right? So it's just taken me, and then that obviously takes you to clubs wanting to hire you to be their goalkeeper coach, and even that was you learn along the way on what's right, what's wrong, the trial and error of you're in there and you get to be the goalkeeper trainer, and that's definitely some. When I first started, that was kind of what you just did. You just showed up on a Tuesday, trained from 5 to 6, and
Hmm.
gone. That was it. And then I got more into wanting to see their games, and then created like a game assessment for the goalkeepers where, you know, can we evaluate the game, and can we break it down, and then can we even meet to talk about that's great that you could save a shot, but if you would have been at this angle, and if you would have timed it this point, and if you would have communicated to this player, you would never had to save that shot. So how about we
Yeah.
start learning about that side of the thing? And so that morphed into the more of the school of the tactical part of it. And then we hit assessments and we hit classrooms, and
Yeah,
it's
and I love everything that you're mentioning. And of course, I'm hoping you're able to tell us a little bit more in specifically how does that environment looks like. But definitely, like even me as a coach, like the older that I get, the most of that understanding of the tactical aspect and how important it is for us to like sit down and review and have these meetings and talk about it is such a great idea. And I think it's such an important tool that sometimes coaches doesn't do. So before I came to Miami in Southern Miss, I didn't have enough time, of course, because there were different coach. There were only it was me and the head coach. So of course I couldn't have all my focus on the goalkeeping. But now that I'm like more engaged on the goalkeeping aspect, I try every week or every 2 weeks or something, depending on the time with the players and everything, in finding a specific topic that we're looking forward. So, for example, if we're talking about crosses or everything, we have like kind of a classroom, kind of the same environment that you're kind of mentioning. But I would love you to describe and walk a little bit more about this, because I think this is such a really, really, really important topic that people sometimes overlook, and they believe like the goalkeeper coach is just the person that goes to the field and kicks some balls. So how does that school looks like? I would love to hear all of those things.
Okay. Well, yeah, like I said, it goes under just how we just, so a lot of stuff I always learned through just field player coaches, right? I just, you learn the game itself. And so I was always a student of the game, and doing the goalkeepers at such, I guess you could say, an early age or an early era where there wasn't that many of us.
Yeah.
Or so get to go into the ODPs and get to go into the regional camps of in soccer, and areas where these big time coaches that I learned so much from would want me to come in just to help the goalkeepers. I was learning just team tactics about it, and I was learning so much on how they conduct themselves and on all transitions of play, and then how that would translate into what the goalkeeper should do. It just kind of got your mind spinning all the time. The drills that you see the field players do, can I create that into a goalkeeping type drill? So now it becomes a little bit more dynamic with something that could be more live, that felt a little more game related, right? Instead of just, jump over a cone and save a shot to the right. Like, so even learning from the field player coaches on just how to design the drills, and how they went from like maybe just the individual ball work to then a group play of patterns of passing, into them playing like more 4v4, and then playing into like 7 versus 5. And you could see how they had their topic and they continued to grow it into a full game. So that became more of my concepts of, that's how we could do it as goalkeeper coaches too.
Hmm.
Can we create that same environment where obviously we don't have a full team, but can we teach that topic as an individual, and then can we put it a little bit more less controlled where we do the group play until we get into a kind of a no control at all, or like just the unannounced, as they call it, right? The terminology that you hear people to use. And that's always been kind of for me, just a aha, like, oh, that's cool how field player coaches do it. Why don't we
Yeah.
do it that way? And so that's always been a big part of a piece of that 4 pillars of soccer that they call, right? The technical, tactical, physical, mental. So, and it goes into relating for goalkeepers. So a lot of things that I would try to do is always make sure I hit all 4 points during every session, and making sure that if I couldn't do on the field, then that's where the classroom started, right? Okay, well, can we talk about what it looks like on video when you see, if it's just breakaways, the 1v1s, I could teach you the technique. We can start doing those tactical aspects of it. But now let's look at it in a game format live of, that's what we're talking about. See, they don't have the ball at this point in time, so this is where you should be. This is when he took off. This is the timing they did. And now these are, at that moment, those are the skills that you learn in the styles of the breakaway. Which one are you supposed to use at that point in time? Right. So the plan. So it starts to understand the goalkeeper has to have some sort of a plan, just like the team does. A blueprint. Doesn't mean the blueprint's always going to work, but at least you get to the point where you you at least have a direction. And so that morphed into more of the classroom, and then even doing like specific camps or clinics on those certain topics. Right. So we were able to, and then collaborate. So like they said, if we're talking about like a 1v1 breakaway type session, and we do a clinic, can we have it and then incorporate like I would do collaboration clinics with field player coaches, where they would be working on their skills and how to go beat people and go into a breakaway and how to place it. And then I would be teaching the style of breakaways for the goalkeepers, of what technique to use. And how can we collaborate so we could both learn and get a little bit more of a live concept so we could teach. And so that became another aspect of the school, of just the whole collaboration, always of being together almost sometimes, and not just individual.
100%. Like, and you mentioned something really crucial that I think that has been something that I have also kind of brought out on my methodology about like seeing the full picture, the big picture of the game, and then being able to break it down until certain aspects, even if it is the technical aspect. but we need to see that full picture from the beginning until we can break it up. So I think it's really crucial for coaches to have at least have understanding of that, or at least think about that, because that's great. Again, the part of the visual, like a player seeing themselves or just understanding the concept by watching videos, that improve your game immensely. With that, I have a question for you, Jeff, and this is like more of a personal question, me being selfish here. Because me doing those classroom meetings, I feel what I struggle the most. I mean, we can talk about how you prepare the whole thing regarding getting videos and all this. Of course, it takes a lot of time. But before we go to that, one of the biggest struggles that I battle with is finding topics to talk about. Because I say, we're gonna be talking about crosses. All right, already checked the crosses. Now we're gonna be talking about 1v1s. Okay, already check 1v1s. But how can I go through different topics without being like that repetitive? I'm not sure if I'm explaining my question really proper.
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah, no.
I think that's probably the hardest part when we're in like an environment where like you're at the college where
Mm,
you're seeing them pretty much daily. And even in the club scene where you're seeing them at least 2 times a week, if not more weekly, 52 weeks almost, right? So
yeah.
you have to come up with those things. And that's, I think, and that's kind of, it's interesting because I just had this talk with some of the coaching staff of the field player coaches is that the mission for us as a goalkeeper coach sometimes is totally different than the mission for the field player coach,
Huh.
right? Like we're a little bit more patient on the process because so at least for me, like if we're talking about breakaways, right? And so maybe that first week or that chunk of time that we're doing things is just the styles of them all. Like, can we just touch on just the styles so we understand it? Next time
Hmm.
we visit it, and then it becomes a little bit more detailed of now they have those styles and they understand the techniques. But now today we're going to talk about through balls where they don't have control. The field player doesn't have control yet. So it's a 50-50 ball. So now we're looking at your positioning, your timing, and then deciding your speed versus the speed of the player versus the speed of the ball. And you're starting to figure those things out. And maybe that could be a full session on just no control, where it's can I get there first, or is it going to be a boom boom? And then you could get into the topic of like now it's the through ball maybe still happens, but now they do have control. So now how does that change your mindset? How does that change your tactical ability of what you're going to do? And then what technical style are you going to use when the ball is total control? Because obviously you can't just dive. They have controls, right? So now you have that whole topic and you could kind of create that. So it becomes a little more detailed. And then we've even gone to the parts where we get more detailed of, okay, now we're going to have balls that are played centrally, breakaway wise, versus balls that are going away wide. So now you have to make those decisions on in possession, out of possession of it going centrally. And then if the ball is going wide, is it still immediate danger that you need to get there or is it not? Because if you don't get there, now it becomes a cross. And now are you out of the goal mouth? And now it's an easy goal because you thought you should be able to get there and you didn't. So it's just teaching even that aspect of when is it 100% safe to get out versus do I really need to get out? Because now it's a whole different situation. Right now, they're so wide, their angle's bad. I just reset myself for the shot or ready for the cross. And so then you get that detail part of the breakaways, right? So then it's just, I'm just always, I think you're always kind of watching games too. You're like, that's interesting. Like, do you see how the ball was played in and he went out and he didn't get there first? They got it, they tapped it across. Realistically, you start to say, oh, you see that a lot. It's hard
Yeah.
because the speed of play is so different at different levels where, if you think you're fast, but you're not fast compared to a college or international pro forward, right?
Hmm.
So then you get that detail. So that's kind of in a, I guess in a specific nutshell, what I try to do when you speak on just one topic and just continually build on what that looks like and different angles of like, even if it could be the cutback cross, that's a bad, that's a breakaway. Like, so we've done those things where can we go off the touch? And so it's just, yeah, constantly trying to watch the games and think what, what topic can happen? Can I create a full on session out of that? And you could always revisit every technique, right? Because that's your phase one. But then as you get to that phase 3 and 4, now you have the true game like scenario. And that's what a lot of times I try to make sure I really reiterate during that session is this is a very specific day. We're only talking about balls that like we just talked about. we're only talking about balls that if they played through with no control or if they played it more wide, how are
Mhm.
you gonna deal with that? This is not a breakaway session. This is a tactical session on breakaways versus those things. So it's I, I guess does it make sense? I don't know if
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no, all those specific, like you say, different variables that it can happen across. So, for example, now if it is a right footer or left footer, or those little things that I can say. So, how, and this is goes back to also those presentation, those classrooms like moments. You said you watch a lot of games, but when it comes down to actually creating the presentation, or at least for me, is the same thing. Like this thing can take me a week of just going back to Y Scout, watching videos, trying to find the perfect moment that I want to think, and then find not only one, but then I need to find two, and then I need to, because I'm coaching females, I need to find the female version or the women's soccer. So I don't know how. What are your best tips for somebody to like actually being able to build up all this presentation, all these classroom meetings? I don't know how you do them through Zoom or everything, but like give us all those secrets there, the magician secrets from Jeff.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're always evolving for that because I think even being with the UGKA and
Mhm,
having to do those presentations, that's almost made me really find the true what we're trying to want a topic that we're really wanting to talk about because we only have that 50 minute and they don't really want to just lecture. They wanted you to engage. So can it be quick little things to engage the mind of the kids
mhm,
and I kind of put that into the more of the when I talk with the more advanced keepers, if we almost bullet pointed like the topics and like we said, I've broken it down now to those very specific areas because yeah, if I try to do breakaways, then my mind starts to do that whole thing. If we're using breakaways again. Or I could show this and I could show this, I could show this, and then it becomes you could do a full 2 hours of that, and which
mhm,
means we would be doing it for probably 2 weeks to try to get it cut down to what it needs to be, right? And it's number one, you lose our interests, and you're trying to, and then you start to lose your focus on what am I really really trying to do here. So I don't want them to start swaying away from something different in that topic. I'm trying to get them to that very specific detail of it, which, it's, I think as a coaches, we have to just we have to keep our focus on the narrative as much as possible so that it could just be a quick, like 4 or 5 clips of, do you understand it? This is what we're trying to accomplish. Now let's go do it. And
mhm,
so if it's like saying, like if you're talking about when we more, like I said, if more the elite athlete or the college kids where you're trying to just show a certain thing either prior and then you're trying to then do the sessions and then beyond it, then at least then you could break down game film and say, okay, remember when we did this topic and we showed this is what I was talking about in the game and this is what you did right or wrong or what you could have fixed based on what we talked about. So it kind of evolves as long as like I said, you're in that environment where you could continue to get the full aspect of it, right? Because I think college, you get definitely a great time because you're with them as much as you need to be. Club where I'm at do, but if I do it stuff with my like the academy kids that come to me, like whenever we train and they want to do all those other things,
mhm.
it's realistically it's great that they want to do it, but it's not feasible to get them to really hit it until we're able to do it in a full process. So it's a hard thing for on the videos to really do to, like I said, to keep their focus, keep the point of just, "This is all we need to talk about today," and not venture off. Because I think that's the hardest part I've been learning and had to learn is how do you just keep it very specific and don't venture off. And then if you have time like you have, I mean, if you have now I've done it before where I've maybe done a full video and hit all those, like, extra items.
Mhm.
But knowing that now I could cut it to where I need it to specific, like, okay, let's make this video and cut it so it's only gonna be like 25, 30 minutes. But the whole thing might have been an hour and a half if I had really let it go. But now it's available for me.
Yeah.
Right now I could go back and be like, okay, let me get the segment on when they have total control of the ball and how we're gonna do that for breakaways, and let's pull that and present it. So there's different ways to do it. Maybe you do all up front, so it takes you a while, but at least now you're set.
Mhm.
Or you could do it little by little, but I mean, like you said, no matter what, it's gonna take you
Yeah,
a
definitely.
a little bit. So it's kind of maybe just getting prepared and knowing that it's going to happen. So can we just take some time and let it all happen and then be allowed to segment it as needed?
For the video sakes, normally you gather them on YouTube, or do you have any other tips with that, like Y Scout, or what do you do? Like just the specific clips that you're gonna show, because I feel like this niche is so small that it's not like if you search 1v1's Allison, it might one video might show up and it's super blurry or something like that. It's not like whenever you type like best goals of Real Madrid 2003 and all the goals shows up. So how do you normally handle those videos
Right.
problems?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the hard part because if you're showing, like, you show pros, then you have to really find those clips. Like, a lot of times YouTube's been great because you could actually just go find games. And again, I'm just a big time soccer geek on just watching games and learning. I'll literally watch, like yesterday when I watched the Champions League games, there'll be certain things I'll put in my phone, like in the 43rd minute, he steps out to do a block save against Real Madrid versus Benfica,
Hmm.
and I'll just put it on my phone. So now it's saved in all the platforms like Paramount, right? So if I'm ready to go do something, I could actually pull that. I know exactly what time it was, and then I just screen it and cut it, and I have it. So it's kind of
Yeah. And I need your brain, Jeff. That's not happening to me. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what I was gonna the video I saw it this week and I forgot what was it. I have a
now I
notes with
do.
it. You save this day, this day. I do that
Yeah.
sometimes.
No, yeah, I try to do that too. I used to always say, "I gotta remember that game," and that never happens, right? Because there's just too many, and so I've learned that if I don't write it down right away or put it in my phone or some type of thing, then it's lost. So I've learned the hard way where it's like, "Oh, what game was that when I saw them do this?" And so I try to do, especially like if I'm doing it now with the club, I'll do certain pros. I'll try to find the college because there's a lot of college games now, right? On the ESPNs, they have all the college games
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
during the season where I'll do the same thing. Like I'll clip it, make sure I remember it. And then the kids all have for the ECNL kid, boys and girls, they have the VO and the huddle that's
Hmm.
filming it anyway. So then I'm able to clip all that. And that's the part of my goalkeeping job for Legends where I'm constantly just after every weekend I put in however I have to filter it and I just right away I'll clip it. I'll write a quick little segment on if it was a barrier or if it was good or if I have questions about it
Yeah,
and then clip it and I save it and every one of the girls have their own file and every one of the boys side has their own file and I
that's
just
great.
send it to files.
And with that, Jeff, that's something that I feel like I have faced as well. Like, for example, if I'm giving feedback to my goalkeepers, right? I get the videos of of the practice games, whatever it is. Um, I once was having this conversation with one of our goalkeepers. I was asking her, like, okay, what do you feel about all this feedback and stuff like that? And she mentioned, like, I feel this too much. So I don't know what are your thoughts on that in the sense of, like, for example, we're cutting all these videos. For example, Monday practice was distribution, and now I'm cutting like, okay, what happened on this pass? What do you think you could have done different? But and then the next clip or the next thing is about her diving. So now we're talking about, okay, why are you stepping with this leg, not with this leg? Do you think you're diving forward? And then the next clip is about crosses. Why are you jumping with this leg? Why are you jumping? So her feedback again was like, I feel it's just too much. Like how do you manage that, or how do you think will be a proper way or a solution for all those little things?
Yeah, no, I totally agree because I've had that where because again, we get so excited that we're trying to teach, right? And so we just want to show all of it. But it's helped me a lot, at least to kind of pull it in a little bit is like all the kids for the club on the ECNL side, at least have their own IDPs, right?
Hmm.
And so I try to at least make sure that whatever their barrier, what they're wanting to improve in their IDP, that's kind of like the only thing I'm really clipping for them if I discuss with them. And then, so then I have different folders. So then I also have like a folder where I call like a showcase folder and a favorite folder where I'll just clip certain things where like, okay, I like how they dealt with that distribution. They waited or they didn't like it. And I'll put that into one of the folders because then that becomes a video like we talked about earlier where I can maybe create a whole session on, hey, we're going to bring everybody in and we're going to talk about back passes and the options and where to play it. And now I have those clips ready. So that way I don't just show it to that person all the time. Like, hey, look at this cross and hey, look at this distribution and look at the save and look at this. So yeah, it gets overwhelming. So I just try to keep it like, hey, your IDP is this. You wanted to work on your distribution. So here's another one. Did
Oh,
you now
that's a great
go ahead?
idea. Honestly, I might, Jeff. I might steal that. Not gonna lie, I might start doing that. To be fair, I think that's a great idea to actually deal with that.
It's just, yeah, we have to save ourselves from ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, no, because again, the way that I found it, or the solution that I kind of found was, of course, cutting the clips, like cutting the topic of like what I was like. If I felt like I was mentioning too much about that, like what was the main point that I was mentioning, and then just focus on that thing. But I think it's really good what you were saying about having the clips, and then they can come by their own time and stuff and watch all the little things. And I think that creates that backup plan of like, okay, we need to work on this. We need to work on this. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking with somebody, and one question I brought up, and I want to hear your thoughts as well. When players develop in IDPs, of course, we as coaches are here to assist. Sometimes players might have a small misunderstanding of their level, in a sense of like they might think they're way better than what they actually are at some point, and they think their only mistake or deficiency can be only crosses or stuff like that, whatever. How do you navigate a person that comes telling you like, "Oh, I want to work on my distribution," but in reality, she needs to start or he needs to start working on under diving. Like he cannot make a shot, he cannot save a ball. How do you navigate that thing, or did you just say, "All right, we're just gonna work on distribution"? How does that look like?
Yeah, no, that is hard because yeah, you're like perfect for some don't assess themselves correctly as you would hope, right? And so
Hey, by the way, if you ask me how good of a keeper I am, I'm 10 of 10. So you know, okay.
yeah, it's exactly so. But that's we always tell them fake it till you make it anyway, right? So the when we do ours, we kind of that way it allows me to kind of interject slightly. So I'll have certain like I have them name two things that they felt technically they're good at, tactically they're good at, and then physically what they feel that their strong point is, and then psychologically, socially, like the two of all those. And then I ask them for the barriers, two barriers that they have for all. And then based on not that necessarily, now what goals do you want to work on in each of those four pillars: technical, tactical, physical, mental, right? And that's the IDP part of it. And so I have already also given them my thoughts on their what I feel is good and what I feel is a barrier. So we talk on those two things together. Like, okay, well, I actually think that you said that your distribution is a barrier. I actually think your barrier is not distribution. I
Hmm.
think it's exploding, diving high, like diving for extension diving. I think your distribution could always be maintenance, so we're going to work on it. But do you really feel it's a barrier? And so that's the talks that we have. So we create the goal. So it's kind of almost a compromise side part of it of if they feel strongly about it, then we definitely do it. They like, but if I guess it would be more of if we see that there's a immediate need first, then we try to put that into it before we let them think that there's
Hmm.
certain things that they're good at where they're not, right? So it's depending on the age too. For me, I have depending on where they're at. Almost, I mean, yours would be a little bit different for the college because they need to produce now, and it has to happen, right? The development's there, but it has to be produced. Where mine's even my higher level ones, maybe I push that no, there has to be certain things that you need to be better at than what you're doing. Whereas the ones that are a little bit getting there, I give
Yeah.
them a legal room of okay, is that what you think you need to do? Let's work on it. So that one's a little bit individualized too of it, right? Where it's when do I really pry and tell them that's not that's not it versus okay. So I don't think there's not an absolute there I found because
Hmm.
there's so many of them are all different. I've for doing this so long, I've even learned there's certain goalkeepers that are unorthodox that technically they're not good, right? But they make the saves, they're game changers. You know, I have several that have gone to colleges at D1 that you would have thought, "Oh, okay," because they're just I call them unorthodox. I don't know if that's even the right word, but it's not our technically sound goalkeeper, right? It's just they'll still make the save, they'll still do it, but they're a
It,
gamer.
it doesn't it doesn't look pretty, basically.
Yeah, and then or else they're so athletic they get to it differently, right? And so those are the things. Or if it was up to me, I'd be like, you know what? Your barrier is that when you dive to your left, it doesn't look right. You're almost diving sometimes on your stomach. Sometimes when you hold the ball, it looks like it's not there. So we need to work that. That would have been the old me like 10 years ago. Now I'm like, no, okay. The technique is not great, but it's almost I could put you in with another goalkeeper that's very technical sound, but because you're so athletic or so smart, it doesn't even matter that you're not perfectly technical because you have other qualities, right? So
That's
that's the
really
hard part.
interesting. Yeah. What
That
what do
was the
you
hard part.
think? What do you think our coaches think about that?
You mean like
Like
just
head coaches, for example.
the head coaches? Well, I use those terms to them a lot of times because they'll ask, hey, well, what do you think about them? And I'm like, well, I'll use that unorthodox. That's like a word I use for them. Like for American football, always talk to them. It's like there's certain quarterbacks that people would always love in the world of American football that could throw the ball and have so many Super Bowls, but they would never let anybody teach the younger ones their technical ability because it wasn't technical. It was just they throw it
Hmm.
and they got it done and they won Super Bowls because they're whatever unorthodox way it was. So sometimes I'll tell them that because some even coaches American wise understand that American cliche better. I think most of the time they understand and they'll take it because they see it too, right? Where yeah, there's certain things about certain goalkeepers that they're just some type of freak of nature at certain things, and if you change it, you kill them. You mess up the whole entire ability that they used to have. So it's that
Oh, that's
individualized.
very that's interesting, honestly. And I want to go a little bit deeper on what are your thoughts of how to develop goalkeeper and your thoughts about like the needs of the goalkeeper. But before we go that, I have two final questions regarding this topic and specifically. First of all, I feel on the college level is a little bit easier, like how you were saying, because we have the kids every time. So we have so many cameras, we get to see them and they are our only focus, right? And then we want to meet with them, we just text them and they can come to our office or whatever. But like in club for coaches that are probably listening to is like how do you navigate this? Like do you normally do this thing for through Zoom? Or like you send them a link and you let them figure out, or how often do you train? Like how does that look like in your environment with a club?
If I need to, you just mean in general, or if I want to talk to them, or if I'm trying to send them.
Well, in general, like with the start of the IDPs, so is that like a Zoom meeting or stuff like that? And then like for example with the topic of the classrooms or like with the video sessions and all this stuff, like how does that look like? It's just something that you're sending it to them through Drive, or you guys have one day specific to meet with all the goalkeepers with the same ages? Like how does all of that gets navigate through in a club?
I think, well, they all, so on the IDP part of it, I'll send out the form that they all
Mm,
have to fill out. And then once they fill it out, it'll submit back to me. And at that point, we create like a meeting, usually live. So the club, we have our own facility where we have classrooms and we have offices. So it's a little bit nicer than some where we're able to bring them into a place, right? And not just meet on the soccer field. And so we'll meet then, and that's when we have the discussion that we can break those things down on how we're going to create the IDP. If we're talking about game film stuff, that usually is just sent through as an email. Like here's the links on the last month of game films of what we looked at, and let's look at it based off of what your IDP is suggesting and what do you feel.
mhm,
Well, that then that one's a little different. So for club wise, and I think it's still trial and error for me, maybe where I feel I'll give you all the tools that you need to improve. It's up to you if you're going to use those tools and how much you really want to improve, right? So if I send those emails and the clips, I'm not going to really follow up with you too much. It's my own way of saying, here it is. How much do you really want to improve yourself? So if you watch them, if you then come back and want the feedback and you want to then meet, then I'll do everything, full picture of it. We'll meet on Zoom, we'll meet live, we'll meet one-on-one, whatever it makes, because you want to improve yourself. If I send these out to some of them and they're like, oh yeah, I watched them, or someone will say, oh, I haven't got to watch them, I'm not going to push it. It's because eventually, either because I'm in a club mentality, either the peer pressure of those that are watching and saying that they're doing it and improving versus those that don't want to do it and possibly aren't improving, then they either come on board or they unfortunately falter and we replace them. So it's a cutthroat tool of, hey, we're giving you everything you want now.
Mhm.
But if you're not going to be willing to also give everything to us, then are you really in the right environment? Then my thoughts would be, if they are really willing to improve and do all the stuff that we show, then when we send them to you, they should already have that mindset. And now you can continue that process with them of, okay, here's the games. Now I need you guys to do this. And did you look at it yet? And if they're not used to it, they're going to get to you and then be like, was I supposed to really look at that? Or, and there's whatever excuses they give. So it's kind of that for me. I don't know if it's not a full blown, it works. It's just more of, at this point, my way of saying, we have every tool for you and we have every avenue for you to get better, but we
Yeah.
can't hold your hand the whole way. Right. Because when you get you're not going to get your hand held.
And me listening to this again, it's funny because I think about like the way I grew up and the way like I practice and all of that, and we never had all these resources. And I wish I had all of this because my level have been 3,000, 5,000% better. Like I remember when I was gonna start getting recruited for America, they were like, "Oh, let me see a video." I'm like, "Video? What are you talking about? We never record a game. We never spoke about video sessions. We never see our team playing." And like the videos that I actually got was like my dad trying to recording the grass and stuff like that. So it's funny. It's funny that things have changed, and now like goalkeepers have all these resources to actually keep improving, and you need to be really mindful about that. Like I think those are standards nowadays of like being able to have the videos, watch yourself, a goalkeeper coach that is passionate enough to go watch those videos and clip, because this takes a lot of time, honestly. Like people underestimate how long it takes to do all these things. Regarding the coding videos and stuff like that, for whoever's listening, and even for me, how do you normally do this? Because I use CapCut. If I'm honest with you, I download the videos and I'm in my phone trying to code. It looks like I'm chatting, but no, I'm there zooming out, coding, putting text and stuff like that. So my phone has a lot of storage, thankfully. But I don't know. I don't know if there is another way, another alternative that you utilize that you can share.
Yeah, no, well, I use that also. I've used that from my phone. And then, like I said, there's videos if I have to even screen record it, I'll do it that way. If I'm doing in a PowerPoint, I could even use the PowerPoint screen recording, and then I'll go into the YouTube or I'll go into one of the platforms of the games and do it that way. Where I'll just fully just record the screen. If I'm able to, depending on what I'm watching or what we're doing, if I just send the link into like, okay, we're going to click on this link and it's going to show this clip of this game and we get to that. So I don't think there's a one way I have it. It's more of I'll even have like when I do my sessions, like sports session planner I use.
Hmm.
And it's kind of you can plan your sessions, but you could actually make it move. Like the people can move from place to place. I'll even like in raw format, like, look, this is the drills that we are going to work on. And this is what it should look like, what we're going to
Wow.
do. And
Yeah.
then
What platform is this?
sports session planner,
Sportation.
it's one of like the tactics. It's one of the little
Mhm.
platforms for creating sessions, but just another way of kind of, if it's like session related, or that was the raw part, like, look, this is what we worked on. You see what we tried to do. And then this is what it looks like in the game and what they did. And now, depending on where I'm at with which film I'm doing, now did I cut it into their trace or their VO or their huddle
Mhm.
and then put it into that? So I don't know, there's so many different things I use.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I
I
did.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's not just one
one
that I
specific.
found yet.
Yeah. For me, I mean, well, the session planner, if I'm honest with you, Jeff, I really don't prioritize the time of going and design the session like in the system, in the software, and make it all pretty and put in the thing. So that's me with a notebook writing my sessions. But like for presentations, I use Canva a lot. I think Canva is really friendly user. That's one that I probably I like more than PowerPoint. So I don't know if you have ever tried it or something, but I really like Canva. And even for designs and flyers or stuff like that, I think it's great. Putting videos, presentations, I think it's great. And CapCut. I wish I were better in the CapCut in the computer because I think like the keywords and stuff like that, it make things quicker. But I have been so used to a phone that that's made to go. So if you're listening and you're thinking about like what tools you can use, that's for me as well. And
And you guys have
so the
was
what?
that White Scout? You guys have was the White Scout? Is it the
Yeah, we have the Wise Code.
and that's I haven't got to see it because that's more of a either the college or the pros use it, right? A lot more.
Yeah,
And
it has
we've
all the well, they use it
I
because
think
it has like all the videos, all the database, and you can filter like they have like AI generation, everything. So you can filter all the statistics, you can filter shots, you can filter distribution, you can filter whatever, and you can filter by player and all those things. So that was really eye opening when I came to Division One World and I saw a Wise Code. I was like, no way, this existed all this life. So that's really cool to have. I don't know if you use it. Have you ever used Wise Code or?
I've heard everybody talk about it before, and then we finally, I guess Huddle has kind of created that similar type thing because they've been talking to us about wanting to use it, and they showed us a demo. And
Mhm.
yeah, I saw that, and they're saying it's just like the White Scout. We're all like you're saying. I was like, wow, this is cool. Like
Yeah, no, I
it
think
breaks
Westcott
down.
bought Hoodle, so or Hoodle
Okay.
bought Whitecoat, either way. But it's definitely that. I mean, of course, it helps. Like we were talking at the beginning, like trying to find those videos. Like if I'm going to talk about distribution, I go to theirs and then I put distribution. But it's still, like now, it's more impressed for me that you're able to find all these videos, Jeff. Because even me doing it this way, it takes me a while to go one by one and think, okay, this one work, this one doesn't work, this one work. But that's a good database to have to watch video. I think it's great.
Yeah, no, that was cool. I saw the demo and saw what it could do. I was like, wow, that's another level right there. So that's cool.
Yeah. And another tip that I have for college, or I'm not sure, probably in club, I'm not sure, but we use Speedio. And Speedio is basically a camera that tracks, it's like the video and all of the things. And for me, something that has helped me a lot is whenever like the goalkeepers go to regular practice with the field players and stuff like that, I bring my iPad as well. And meanwhile the game is happening, I'm able to tag moments that I remember. So for example, if the goalkeeper concede a goal about that we need to talk about it, besides me thinking like, oh, we need to talk about that, I just put the tag of like talk or like feedback or whatever. And then when I go back to the office and I check this video, I'm able to find the tags like really quick. So I think that's a good tip for whoever is using Expedia and is a goalkeeper coach. Or I don't know if you have something similar with Huddle or something. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I have to look because yeah, that would be cool. Because I've always thought that too. Where I've seen the sideline where I'll watch the colleges
Hmm.
on the the higher levels where everybody has their little iPad and
Yeah.
that's right in front of them, right? And they just kind of so you're basically clicking those moments that you see and
Yep.
clipping them.
And then everybody has access to them. So if the players want to come, so what I used to do as well was every time the goalkeeper touched the ball, I will just tag it because it takes 1 second literally. So I will just tag it, and then if the goalkeeper wanted to go back to a video and then just put their name, they will see all the actions that they had. So they could find like the save, they could have find whatever. So I think it was a great resource and a good tip to have because sometimes we're just watching and standing there. Then you can use that time as well to actually be cutting or doing some stuff. Yeah. Well, we are 53 minutes in. It has been really, 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 really good, the things that you have been adding. And like I told you, I'm even stealing some ideas from you. But I also want to hear, of course, a lot of experience in your hands now, goalkeeper director and everything. What are your goals? Not your goals, but like when developing a goalkeeper, what are the things that you're thinking about? Like, what are the things that you think goalkeeper coaches need to prioritize more or be mindful about and all this whole thing when developing a goalkeeper?
Well, that's a loaded one, right? So let's
That's
bring on there.
an hour
I would
discussion
say,
here.
kind of just there's a lot of we had the discussions when I with the coaches a lot of times with the staff are just kind of depending once it number one categorizing what group we're talking about, right? Like the little ones nowadays for club, they're so little. I think 7 years old are starting at club now, which is crazy.
Hmm.
And so at that level, I'm even telling all the coaches as well as my coaches that look, they're 7. I don't even want them here, to be honest.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be they shouldn't be goalkeepers right now. Specifically, they should be here and there. If they like it, great, we do it, but 7 is just so early. But if you're gonna be here, we need to be teaching more of that safety type aspect of the goalkeeping, right? So if we are starting to learn how to catch the ball, how not getting the fingers broken, sprained, and messed up, the wrist. And then once we start falling and diving, how do we make sure we're falling to the ground on our side and not totally on our elbow or shoulder or on our stomach? And then once we start teaching like the aspects of the breakaways, it's not so much of, and we get it so perfect on their technical part, but it's, you know, not diving with your head, with the hands right here where they could kick you in the head, but out here and not slide tackling. So I think it's safety first concept of the technical stuff that you might teach these little ones. It's all out of the balancing and the mobility of their coordination of it. So it's and like I said earlier, that's why our mission is so different than the field player coach's mission, right? So we didn't even talk about can they even save a shot. We're just talking about can they become more coordinated? Can they have a little bit more stability in their movements? And then can we make sure they're not hurting themselves when they're doing those little segments? So ball goes in, the ball goes in. That's not even I could care less, but they all do, right?
Jeff, when teaching these scenarios, is because I'm not sure on your thoughts about like all these cones and footwork and ropes and diving. You think this is the place for them for utilizing these moments and not making the game realistic practices? Like, I don't know. How does that work?
For the little ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, for little ones, it is. It's just more the movements. Everything's a lot slower. Everything's maybe
Hmm.
rolling, and it depending on how long you've had the little ones, right? So, like we just had that talk actually too last night. How if we're in like the third cycle of the year, because now they're almost some of them are getting done with the year and competing in that state cup, the last tournament before it's over, right? Are those ones ready to then be a little bit more detailed and we get to that next level of the next session of the next groups, right? Now now that phase 1 and phase 2 of our teaching should be a little bit more detailed to the technical part of it. The styles of all the, like you said, the diving and the breakaways and how to catch. And are we starting to see that age? Let's say those would be more because you classify them on 7 versus 7, 9 versus 9, 11 versus 11. So if you then classify the 9 versus 9 group, now you're getting into more of the goalkeeping, where now I'm in this position to keep the ball out of that net. So now how am I going to do my best to do that? So we're hoping that you've had them long enough that you've installed that coordination, that balance, that footwork. And if not, we always do that in phase 1 anyway of the teaching, no
Hmm.
matter what. And then the topic is very going to depending on how many phases we go into. So if it's still very general that we're really teaching them, obviously we're still teaching them at 99, but there's more of a need of, like we talked about in the very beginning, of a little bit more of that phase 3 of now can they move to the correct angle before the action happens? Where is their set position before that action happens? What's the timing looking like? Can we have them have a little bit of a decision making at that 99 level? Because now it is getting to the point where you're you're competing more, right? You're becoming more competition driven, especially unfortunately at our club. It's a bigger club. There's a little bit more. We expect you guys to develop quicker, or else you get replaced.
Together. In the sense of like working, we spoke about IDPs a lot at the beginning. Working on IDPs in like a goalkeeper environment that is like club, how does that look like? In a sense of like somebody says, I want to get better in distribution, and the other person says, I want to get better in 1v1s or crosses. And the session that we're doing is about shot stopping. How does that look like on like how can you manage those individual plans with groups in some sense?
Well, so if they individually have what they're saying versus what I feel they need, is that what you mean first? Or is it just,
No, like you have so you have different phases, right? Like you were kind of explaining, like I guess first phase will be what coordination, second phase will be like what, or how does that look like?
okay, well, now it's just, so when I talk about the phases, for me, it's just more of the session. That's
Mm-hmm.
how we break down that session. So phase one's always the footwork, the activation,
Okay.
the topic. And then phase two is a little bit more that controlled part of the topic. Phase three
Okay.
would be limited control. So it's
Got it,
the
got it.
terminology
So,
of that would
for
be more
example,
session.
on the days that you're working on 1v1s or stuff like that, but the IDP of the player or the player wants to get better at distribution, like how do you combine the individual player with the group of goalkeepers? If I'm explaining myself with my question.
Yeah, no, I think so. Because we have, so for the club, the only ones that do the IDPs are the top level ones, the ECNL players. So all the other ones, they don't have those. They're learning
Developing.
just because we have a curriculum. So our curriculum is like a 6 week based curriculum that constantly hits each little thing. Right. So if it might be first week was just catching and handling, let's say second week is falling and diving, third week is 1v1s, fourth week is crosses, fifth week is distribution, sixth
Hmm.
week is passbacks. Let's just say that's kind of the cycle. So they kind of already know the cycle. So they're all getting that maintenance, even if that's not your IDP, your barrier. It's more of a maintenance of your play in general. As we hit that week that might be part of your IDP, I already have that all on everybody's list of like, okay, your IDP is for 1v1s. So on week 3, you and John and Jessica, they all have IDPs on 1v1. So then it's very much that I make sure the coaches all understand that, hey, make sure we're reiterating to those particular people that, hey, this is what you're expect. This is what you're saying is your barrier.
Yeah,
This is why, because look at what you're doing here. You're not doing this, or this is perfect what you do. How come you don't do that? So we kind of, as a staff, it's the communication of making sure that once their topic hits those cycles, then it becomes more of a little bit more about them. We make sure
yeah,
that they're more in tune, and we're really more in tune with that group that has that IDP for that topic.
that's great. And also something that I just wanted to mention and bring up, and I feel goalkeepers and even us as goalkeeper coaches sometimes fail on the mistake of thinking that everything needs to be addressed in the goalkeeper practice. But I think whenever we spoke about like the game realistic and trying to create all these scenarios, the more realistic moment that you will have is when you are with the team. So even if you can still work on your IDPs on those moments. And like Jeff was saying, at the end of the day, if you want to improve on your distribution, probably my main focus on cutting the videos and all this stuff on my feedback will come back for the distribution. Not because you're not spending 20 hours kicking a ball, that doesn't mean that you're not working on the IDP, I feel like. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, it's good, yeah, because there's going to be different aspects of how you're going to work on it, right? So it's
Hmm.
when you're working on any of those things, if you could do it individually, you should be. If it
Yeah.
is with our goalkeeper practice, it should be. It should be definitely something we talk about that, and that's the hard one. Is are you really working on it when you're with your team? Like when any of those certain things happen, are you really mindful that, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to work on my 1v1 objective because now we're playing a small sided 6v6 and there's going to be a lot of through balls or whatever. So we try to do that. Uh, the club, again, has a little bit more I'm spoiled to the point where we do with the ECNL for the girls side, at least, they do a functional training day.
Yeah. That's great.
And so that we have a coach that has that topic designed. And so the teams come in every hour and a half for the ages, for 2 ages at a time. Let's say the 2010 and 2011 are together. And let's say the functional training is for the field players is playing the early cross into the box for the runners. And so functionally now for me, I could be right there with the goalkeepers and say, okay, now our objective is making sure that our positioning is correct for that early cross, making sure that we're organizing already. We already have figured what's going to happen. And now once that happens, can we interact and react as needed? And so it's live within the team, within field players, and both coaches are kind of going off of each other. So that I've noticed that that helps a lot. And then that's a great time for me. Any of them that let's have an IDP that's more in crosses, like, hey, this is exactly what we're talking about. Because I don't know if you had the issue, but I always have the biggest thing when, especially on the club, where the parents will say, hey, could we do any private training? Because my daughter really needs to do better on crosses.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, is it a technical issue or a tactical issue? And they don't really know, obviously, right? But it's kind of, well, the ball will be across and she won't go get it. Okay, well, that's not technical. That she tactically doesn't know. Maybe her positioning's wrong. Maybe her hesitation does it. So now you have a great time to be in that environment where the goalkeeper coach is with the team, kind of, and you could break those things down. And it really helps. I've noticed to really get deeper with the detail as well as that why, and you see that aha moment for some of the kids. Like, oh, okay, I get it. So there's a lot of moving parts it takes, and unfortunately, there's a lot of kids that don't get the benefit of all this that we're talking about.
Yeah,
That could
definitely.
be right. Like you're saying, I never really had video, obviously, right? Video and all that. Just
I have never a clue what was IDP growing up, almost.
yeah.
Didn't know that existed, so that's funny.
So for nowadays, these kids. I mean, that's why I think when I said earlier, I'm so excited about all doing it, but I think I had to be a realistic part of it, saying, you know what, I can't hold their hand the whole time, and because when they do go to you, you're not going to be like, hey, let's do this. No, it's, if you don't do it, you're going to be sitting and I'm going to bring in somebody else next year
Yeah,
anyway. Right. So it's my job to mold them so that when you have them, they already kind of have the good mindset and that ethic.
habits and everything.
Yeah. And just know it. Right. It takes skill to learn how to watch a game film too. Right. And so they never do it. And then they go to you and like, okay, I need you to watch this and break down. And they don't even know. They're just watching like a fan instead of watching like a player. So
Mhm.
it's a big process where I'm spoiled to have the ability to do it, and then
Yeah,
not everybody gets it. But
yeah. Well, it has been an hour and 7 minutes. I want to be really
well,
mindful
hey,
about your time, and I feel like we can continue talking, Jeff. Personally, there is a lot of things that I want to go through a lot, but again, I want to be mindful about you. So I have two final questions that I would like to. But first of all, I mean, of course, thank you for everything that you shared. Like I tell you, like even for me, it's like really eye opening on things that I can do different or things that I can add. So really, I wish we have more time just to ask you more things about legends, the way how to direct, like we were talking at the beginning, like having people, goalkeeper coaches that work for you, like how does that environment look like? I think all of that is fascinating. But two questions that I wanted to end with. First of all, will be what will be like a lesson that you really wish you knew early as a goalkeeper coach? All this experience, all these years, and what will be something that you wish you have realized, noticed, or learned before?
I mean, the biggest thing I think I say I've learned is not just be a shot blocker,
Hmm.
like right, just actually being able to learn that can you stop the situation before it ever happens. Like I wish people would have taught me that, and I wish I would have known that as a coach a lot earlier in my coaching career instead of just do the drills and teach them how to dive and teach them how to block, and instead of how about we teach them how to be proactive instead of reactive. So that's been like the biggest thing I've like learned and wish I would learn a lot earlier.
Yeah, 100%. And I keep repeating myself. The older I got, the better I got, just because of the thing of what you are saying. And more that I coach, I start understanding position. I start understanding triggers. I start understanding all the things that is like, I don't even need to dive. I just need to stand over here and I'm making the save. Or like I'm avoiding the person to shoot the ball just because I'm standing here. Like you said, I think that's something that coaches need to be more aware about. And of course, goalkeepers need to be more aware about. Question number two, just to finalize. Okay, no, yeah, I was gonna make the same question. I think if you were gonna tell three advices to goalkeeper coaches, so back to Jeff when he was 20, 23, 22, you said, what advices would those be?
Oh,
Three of them.
three of them.
Yeah, please. Thanks.
So I think number one is be a sponge to everyone around you, goalkeeper or coach or field player coach, just like-minded soccer people, right? Just be a sponge and listen and learn would be one advice. Two is be able to communicate on the levels of who you're speaking to, your audience. Let it be
Mhm,
little young ones to middle age to high school to college to pro. Always being able to have the ability to use the terminology that still connects with them
mhm.
would be huge. And then I think the my biggest thing I really would have liked to make sure that I should have known earlier is that it's not about me. I'm not the one that's gonna play this game, so don't teach them like I was. Teach them how they need to be, and that's where that whole my concept of if they're unorthodox, so be it. Let them be unorthodox. How do I strengthen that unorthodox player into being the best of their ability and not just what I learned and what my method is, and just knowing that everybody's individual and we have to be able to accept that and build them for how they learn best, how they play best, and not just, well, this is how we have to be because this is my style and this is what I think. So I've really that's the biggest thing I've always not always, but I've learned a few years back that it's not about me. So do whatever it takes to make sure that that player is the best that they could be and feel that they are actually getting something out of it and being heard. So
That's true. They're really good. Really, really good. I appreciate you. Well, of course, thank you for everything that you do. Thanks for the time of coming here, sharing your experience, sharing your tips. I really, really, really hope we can meet again in the future and then just have like a deeper conversation on other topics. I think I will learn a lot if I'm honest with you. So excited about that. If people want to know more about you, come to you, make your question, like what will be the best way to find you, communicate with you, or just anything?
God, you could do so Instagram. I'm on there with my SCSG. Actually, it's GK Tackett SCSG. I always forget my little whatever it is. And then I have my own. I have a website where it's SCSG Goalkeeping. So SCSG stands for Southern California School of Goalkeeping. So it's scsggoalkeeping.com, and I could pretty much try to put everything on there with just training, with events, with articles, videos, and just whatever it takes, just a teaching, another avenue to try to educate.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you very much for this time.
Thank you. Of course, it was fun.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye bye.